Hello everyone, my name is Ruslan and this is Loot Games channel. In this video we'll take a deep look at how equipment and machinery damage works in Farming Simulator 22. We will find out what damage affects or doesn't affect the machinery, how quickly and under what condition equipment gets damaged, when it should be repaired, and whether it's worth buying used equipment. There will be a lot of experiments in the video. The video turned out to be quite lengthy, almost like a lecture, but it covers nearly everything related to damage in Farming Simulator 22. First of all, the game has two important indicators that are closely connected. The first is the condition of equipment, this bar, damage level. Right now it's yellow for me. The second indicator is operating hours, or engine hours, which is the time the equipment has been in use. For the first experiment I planted wheat on my field of 1000 square meters. I tweaked the game files so that from each of this field we should get 1000 liters of wheat. For convenience I will use the mod Enhanced Vehicle to see the exact damage indicators. The new undamaged combine harvester collected 1000 liters. The combine harvesters with 10, 20 and 30% damage also collect 1000 liters. Now attention, the harvester with 35% damage collected 9071 liters, a loss of about 3%. So starting at 30% damage, the combine harvester starts losing yield. Every 10% of damage adds about 6% yield loss. At 100% damage, we collect 600 liters, meaning we lose 40% of the yield. The combine clearly shows that equipment damage is not a joke. With other type of equipment it's not so serious, but no one wants to lose yield. By the way, the combine's damage does not affect the amount of straw, whether it's a new or damaged combine, so the grain volume is lost, but the straw volume is not. What else does damage affect? For combines, it is a yield loss, and for the headers, it's the loss of maximum working speed. Starting at 30% damage, working speed is lost. Specifically with this header, the effect is noticeable at 50% damaged. Here the working speed dropped to 9 km per hour. At full damage, the header speed is only 7 km per hour. All equipment in the game works by the same logic. If the main function of the equipment is harvesting, it will lose some of the yield. And if the main indicator is working speed, it will lose some of the working speed. For example, the new forage harvester collects 4000 liters of chaff. With the full damage 2400. The working speed is 15 km per hour. If you use a new forage harvester with a full damaged header, it will collect the full yield, but the working speed will be only 10 km per hour. If the harvester doesn't have detachable header, then both working speed and yield will suffer from damage. This applies to cotton harvesters, some of beet harvesters, sugarcane harvesters and various trailer harvesters. So here a tractor is pulling a new beet harvester at 10 km per hour. But with the full damage harvester the speed will be only 7 km per hour, and 40% of the yield will be lost. Another example, a disc harrow without damage has a working speed of 18 km per hour, and starting at 30% damage we will notice speed loss. At 40% it's already 17 km per hour, and at full damage is 12 km per hour. This applies to cultivators, mulchers, plows, rollers and everything else, even mowers, seeders and planters. About planters and seeders. Besides working speed, damage affects the amount of seeds used. For clarity, I tweaked the file again, so that 100 liters of seeds are used for 1000 square meters. The speed in the new seeder is 18 km per hour. The seed consumption in the game is tied to the area, not to the speed. It doesn't matter at what speed you drive. For the experiment, I'm driving at 10 km per hour. We used exactly 100 liters of seeds. Now the fully damaged seeder moves at 12 km per hour. The consumption was 130 liters of seeds, 30% more, but not because it moved slowly, but specifically due to the damage, the consumption per square meter is higher. By the way, the condition and damage of the tools does not affect the volume of the future yield. So if you work the field with a new cultivator and new seeder, the yield will be the same as with the fully damaged cultivator and fully damaged seeder. What about sprayers, fertilizer spreaders, lime spreaders and manure spreaders? Damage does not affect the consumption of spreaders and sprayers directly. That is, the consumption per second for the new spreader and the fully damaged spreader will be the same. But, since the damaged spreader will move at the lower working speed, more material will be used. So, damage does not directly affect consumption, but in practice it does. Let's check the mowers. The new mower moves at 22 km per hour. with fully damaged only 15 km per hour. Collecting grass mowed by new mower, 58.94 liters. Collecting grass mowed by damaged mower, 58.99 liters. 5 liters is just a margin of error, so mower damaged only affects speed. What about loading wagons? The new wagon moved at 18 km per hour, while the damaged one only moved at 12 km per hour, but the damage did not affect the collected volume. What about the baler? This particular one moved at 17 km per hour, collected one bale at 5500 liters and an additional 394 liters. Fully damaged baler, 12 km per hour, collected a full bale of 5500 liters and additional 394 liters, so there is no difference. Out of curiosity, I tried wrapping a bale with both a new wrapper and fully damaged one, and I didn't see any difference in wrapping speed. I also didn't see any difference in loading speed, and since this tool doesn't have a working speed limit, there is no point to repairing them. In short, when working with grass and damaged equipment, we don't lose volume, but we might lose time, with one small exception. If you get an idea to collect mowed grass with furrow harvester and pickup header, the damage of the harvester will affect the amount of grass collected, as the grass passes through the harvester. It's time to talk about the damage of the most important inhabitants of the farm, the tractors. What do the damage affect here? I think everyone has already noticed that when the damage is high, the tractor loses power. But how much exactly? I thought for a long time about how to measure this, and there were many suggestions in Discord, but in the end I just used EasyDef. Here's a new tractor with 105 horsepower. At 30% damage, its power is still around 105. So up to 30% there is no difference. At 40% damage the power is 100 horsepower. 5 horses are gone. At 50% damage the power is 96 horsepower. Fully damaged 74 horsepower, meaning the tractor lost 30% of its power. How important is this? Here we have a cultivator that required 225 horsepower, and a tractor with 225 horsepower. We understand that tool requirements are a bit high, and if you're short a couple of horsepower, the tool will still work. A new tractor pulls the cultivator at maximum working speed of 15 km per hour. Even with 40% damage, it still pulls at 15 km per hour. At 50% damage, still 14-15 km per hour. With a fully damaged tractor, it pulls the cultivator at 12 km per hour, so there is a difference. You also need to consider the terrain. If it is downhill, it's easier for tractor to reach maximum speed, and uphill it's harder. If you take a tractor with a little more power than required, like this one with a 312 horsepower engine, then fully damaged it will give about 220 horsepower and you won't notice the difference. If you take the Fendt 1000 tractor with a 512 horsepower engine, then even fully damaged it can pull almost all default tools in the game, with a few exceptions. And practically don't need to repair it all. However, when power is lost, it will accelerate more slowly. And as the damage increases, so does fuel consumption. This applies to all vehicle and to harvester as well. But for harvester, it's not the main factor, so you might not even notice it. For example, we have two identical trucks here, 505 horsepower. One is new, and the other is fully damaged. They are both pulling 2 trailers of wheat, 70,000 liters. You can see that the new truck accelerates faster. It's not critical, but when you constantly have to speed up and slow down, it can become noticeable. And here you can see that the new truck uses about 130 liters of fuel per hour, while the damaged one uses 170-180 liters. We can say that fuel consumption for damaged vehicles also increased by 30%. It's like some magical number. What about trailer damage? Well, in fact nothing. Trailers have only 3 actions: loading, moving and unloading. When moving, trailer damage doesn't affect acceleration or speed. Even if the game has weight limit enabled, the limit will be the same on both a new trailer and fully damaged one. Both the new and the fully damaged trailers unload in the same amount of time. There may be some hidden characteristic, but at the moment it looks like repairing trailers doesn't make sense. Well, moving to the next part of our lecture. Based on the first part of the video, does this mean that you can repair equipment and tools only when you see the effect of damage, like repairing at 30 or 50% damaged? No, it doesn't. If you decided that you will repair equipment, you need to do it at every turn. After you have taken the harvest to sell, repair your tractor. After you have worked at the field, repair your tractor. After you have brought your tractor back from repairs, repair your tractor. Why is it necessary to do it this way? The thing is, the relationship between repair cost and the damage is not linear. Let me show you. We have 4 identical tractors: 10% damage, 20%, 50% and fully damaged. Let's see how much repair will cost. At 10% damage you need to pay $528, which is $53 per 1% of damage. For 20% damaged we pay almost $1,500, it means $75 per 1% of damage. For 50% damage we pay $58.90, which is nearly $120 per each percent of damage. That's twice as expensive as if we had paid 5 times for each 10% of damage. For a fully damaged tractor we paid $16,000, $166 per each percent of damage. That's 3 times more expensive than repairing every 10%. I think now you understand why you need your own repair shop on the farm. The repair cost directly depends on the purchase price of the equipment. The more expensive you bought the equipment, the more expensive the repair, logically. Operating hours and equipment age do not affect the repair cost. But there is very interesting nuance here. Look, here we have 2 identical tractors. Both have dual wheels, both have top engines, both have GPS installed, both tractors are fully damaged. But the repair of one costs $35,000 and the repair of second only $29,000. The difference in repair cost is $6,000, quite significant. Yes, this is for a fully damaged tractor. At 10% damage the difference will be a couple $100, but still, why does this happen? As I said, the repair cost depends on the purchase price. And as you can see, price also different. The thing is, the game doesn't look the price at the equipment files. The game simply remembers how much money you paid at the time of purchase. And that amount remains unchanged in the save file. So, the tractor is more expensive to repair. I bought right away in the top configuration, with dual wheels, with top engine, with GPS. The second tractor I bought in the minimal configuration. Then I drove it to the workshop and only there upgraded it. Installed the same dual wheels, top engine and GPS. That is, if you are buying equipment or tools and don't plan to sell it in the future, it makes sense to buy it in minimal configuration and then upgrade it. This is where you can save on repairs. But if you plan to sell it in future, then it makes sense to buy it in maximum configuration, because the sale price also depends on the purchase price. Since I have started talking about the selling price, I think I can go into more detail. Warning: the topic of selling price is something that personally interested me. It's a bit boring, so feel free to skip to the next episode. For example, I will use glass tractor with price $120,000. As soon as we buy the equipment, it immediately loses 20% of its price. Here in this tab we can immediately see the current price, and all calculation will be based on this price. Yes, that's the price if we sell equipment directly through the game menu. But if we sell it through the workshop, we will get 10% more. What affects the selling price? Naturally damage, paint, operating hours, age. Let's go into more details. So here is a table showing how much value the tractor will lose depends on damage. The relationship is not exactly linear. At 20% damage the equipment loses 1% in value, and full damage 11%. Is it worth repairing the equipment before selling? Let's look at this tractor. The selling price at the fully damaged tractor $85,000. If you sell it at the workshop, the price is almost $94,000. The repair cost $10,800. Let's repair it. The price is now $96,000. Note: due to the damage, the tractor lost $10,800 in value. We paid $10,800 for the repair, and the tractor is once again worth $96,000. So, if you sell the equipment from the game menu, there is no difference whether you repair it before selling or not. But if you sell it through workshop, you will get 10% bonus. And in this example we got $1,080 more just because we repaired the tractor before selling. The more expensive the equipment, the more noticeable the difference will be. For example, the John Deere cotton harvester, bought for $850,000. At full damage it worth $600,000. In the workshop it can already be sold for $660,000. $60,000 is just because we personally brought this harvester for sale. And we can repair it for $7,600, and now when we're selling it through workshop, we will get 745,000, meaning that profit from the repair is 7,600. If you sell it through the menu, there will be no benefit from the repair. I am showing fully damaged equipment as an example, but the situation will be the same with any damage. If selling through the workshop, it's better to repair the equipment first. The next factor affecting price is paint. I'm trying to find the most natural word to express my feeling about the discovery, but I can't. Yes, it's not the strangest thing in Farming Simulator, but I don't understand why make such a price dependence on worn paint. You can see the table, it's also not linear. Initially, for each percent of worn paint, more value is deducted, and as it neared 100%, less. For 10% wear, 8% of the price is deducted, and for full wear, 25% of the price. A quarter of the price just because of paint. The appearance of machinery and equipment in Farming Simulator has more impact on price than its technical condition. Make sense? Should you restore the paint before selling? The situation is the same as with repairs. If selling through the menu, there is no point to restore the paint. If selling through the workshop, there will be a benefit, and it will be more noticeable than with repairs. Yes, by the way, in situation with damage, it's more profitable to repair equipment as often as possible. But with the paint, it's more profitable to restore the paint when it's fully worn. On this particular tractor, is restoring 10% of the paint costs 7,500, which is about 760 per 1% of wear. And restoring 100% of the paint costs 24,000, which is now $240 per 1% of wear. I think you got the point. Another oddity, if you decide to change the paint color on worn paint, the new paint will also be worn. Operating hours, or engine hours. This one is simple. For every hours of work, the tractor's value decreases in the same percentage. The number ends up being very long, so I rounded it to 0.167%. For this specific tractor, after 10 hours of work, the price will drop by 1,600. After 50 hours, another 8% will be deducted, which is 8,000. Around 578 hours of work will be the last step in the price. After that, the price will hit the minimum. Below this threshold, the price won't drop further, which is about 4% of the purchase price. The last thing affecting the sale price is age. Here is a table showing how the sale price depends on age. The relationship is also not linear. Each subsequent day, the difference gets smaller and smaller. Yes, important to note, it's not a day, but a month. Is just for me 1 month equals 1 day. At 50 months old, equipment loses 24% of its value, and at 1000 months, 61%. However, damage, paint and operating hours each reduce the price independently from the original price. The price reduction for the age depends on engine hours. Let's take a case tractor priced at 400,000 as an example. After purchase, its price is immediately 321,000. Let's say it's worked for 100 hours. That's minus about 17%, which is 53,000. So now the tractor should be worth about 268,000. Now let's imagine it worked for 100 hours over 50 months. According to the table, we remember that 24% should be deducted, but this time it's not subtracted from the original price 321,000, but for the price after the engine hours. 268,000 minus 24%, now the tractor is worth 203,000. Then you can also deduct for damage and paint, and in the end the tractor is worth 86,000. I understand that you probably don't need such detailed information, but I was just curious. That's all that affects the sale price. Dirt doesn't play a role, so you don't need to wash the equipment before selling. Under what condition does equipment take damage? Let's move to the test map. Here we have several identical combines, 4 of them fresh from the factory. We have got a large soybean field here. We'll start the first combine with a helper, let it harvest the crop. And the second combine we start with follow me. It will just drive behind the first combine. The header isn't working. For the third combine, we'll start the engine, turn on the header, the combine will be running, but it will stay on the place. The fourth combine we will start the engine, but not turn on the header. The engine will idle. The fifth combine will harvest crop, it has no damage, but the paint is completely worn. The paint is also scraped from the header. This is just to check if paint affects the damage rate. The sixth combine is new, undamaged, and hasn't done any mining. It's just sat in the garage for 3 years, so its age is 36 months. Behind the combine we'll start a tractor with follow me. The tractor has a weight and plow, everything is raised, and the tractor is just driving. From time to time we will need to empty the combines, but this is just a minor details. After 1 hour of real time, the first combine has 4.6% damage and 14.3% paint wear. The heater is in the same condition. Let's move to the second combine, and the damage to the combine and the heater is the same as the first combine. The paint wear is less, 11%. But there is a strange observation. The combine practically didn't work. The heater didn't work. The combine just moved. Yet the damage is exactly the same. This is disappointing. The combine that stood still and rotated the heater damaged is 4.3%, slightly less than the combine in the field. The paint is almost new. The combine that stood with the engine running, I made sure that engine was running constantly. For some reason it shows that combine didn't work the full hour, and there is no visible damage or paint wear. The combine with completely worn paint get 4.7% damage, just like the new combines, so paint doesn't affect the damage. The 3 years old combine get 4.9% damage, slightly more than the new combines. It might be an error, but we will check it. Another audit in Farming Simulator: damage to the tractor, the weight and the plow is the same. We didn't use the plow, it didn't even touch the ground. I have no idea how the weight can get damaged. In short, even if you don't use tools, they still get damaged while moving. If we check the equipment overview menu, we will see that all equipment has accumulated operating hours. This included the plow, weight, and the heater that didn't even harvest crops. Even the heater that was just handing on the running combine has accumulated operating hours. This is also strange. Let's return to Elm Creek and see how equipment gets damaged over the field. We will use Follow Me. The first will be unfolded combine, the second will be a folded combine, the third combine will tow a header with built-in wheels, and the fourth combine will tow a header that is on header trailer. I was too lazy to operate the combine for a full hour, so I used a speed hack. After 1 hour of testing, the damage to the first combine is 4.7%, just like on the field. The second combine has the same damage, so it doesn't matter if the combine is folded or not. The heater on both combine have 4.3% damage, so the heater are damaged just by moving. The third combine is damaged by 5%. I don't know why more than first two. The heater has the same damage as the first two, but at least it's moving on the ground, so there is some logic in the damage. The fourth combine is also damaged by 5%, possibly more damage because combines are towing something. Let's check the fourth heater. It has 4.2% damage, the same as the heater that worked on the field. In my opinion, this doesn't make sense. I thought equipment would get damaged just by moving, so I put the combine on a low loader trailer, and after some time no damage. However, the paint still wore out. What conclusions can we draw? Equipment gets damaged with any movement, whether on road or field, and it doesn't matter if the equipment is working or not. Paint also wear off with movement, but the rate of wear depends on where you are. Wear is less on roads, more on fields. If the tools is working, the paint wears off even faster. Also, the rate of paint wear is affected by stones, which I covered in separate video. In general, I don't see the point of separating damage and paint wear. Let's move on. As I said, operating hours are closely related to damage. Let's return to the test map with soybeans and take combines with the largest grain tank and the smallest header. I chose these combinations so the combine could work longer without my attention. The combines have no damage, but already have different operating hours. 1 operating hours, 5 operating hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, and the last one with 50 operating hours. Now we'll start the screw with helpers and see what happens in hour. After 1 hour, we see that combine with 1 operating hours get 5% damage. The combine with 5 hours get 6% damage. With 10 hours, 7.7% damage. With 20 hours, almost 11% damage. With 30 hours, almost 14% damage. With 50 operating hours, almost 20% damage. It's clear that the more operating hours equipment has, the faster it gets damaged. I decided to continue the experiment and launched the convoy of tractors. I don't know why I attached cultivators to them, but let them be. For the purity of the experiment, I didn't use any speed hack or similar nonsense. I had to deal with Follow Me. I don't like how it's driving in Farming Simulator 22. A few times the tractors tried to summon some sort of farming demon, but I believe the experiment was successful. Here's the point. The lead tractor was brand new, and each subsequent tractor in the convoy has 10 additional hours of work. So 10, 20, 30 and so on up to 100. This is to create a table. The last two tractors are 360 months old, that is 30 years. One has 0 operating hours and the other has 100 operating hours. This to check if age matters. After half an hour of driving, it's already noticeable. The new tractor gets 2% damage, while the one with 50 operating hours has 8.6% damage. Moreover, starting from 50 operating hours, the damage level becomes consistent. Whether the tractor has worked 50 or 100 hours, the damage over the same period will be the same. After 1 hour of real time, here is the table. Basically, the situation is the same. Starting from 50 hours, the damage level will be consistent. Oh, and what about the 30 years old tractors? It's clear that age also affects the rate of damage. I'm launching the tractor convoy again. Their condition is the same, but their age are different. Each subsequent tractor is 10 years older than the previous one, up to 100 years. There is also a tractor that is 500 years old and one that is 1000 years old. Here's a table after 1 hour of work. It's evident that age affects the rate of damage, but not too much, I would say just a little bit. And starting from 60 years, the dependency seems to hit some kind of limit. Well, it's time to look into the new feature of Farming Simulator 22, used equipment. I didn't delve into the specific of how it appears in the store. Clearly there is some randomness involved. What's the downside of buying? Clearly the equipment was in use, so it has damaged, worn paint and some operating hours. Other than that, used equipment is no different from new. What's the advantage? Obviously the price. Especially for a novice farmer, this is a significant factor. And here is where it gets really interesting with the price. I got lucky here. There is a used tractor that can be fitted with a 300 horsepower engine. It costs only 106,000. Remember, don't add any upgrades before the purchase, only after buying. So we bought the used tractor, now we buying the exact same model, but new. And now let's check the equipment overview, and what do we see? The used tractor immediately dropped half of the purchase price. The thing is, the price calculation works exactly the same as for a new tractor, meaning it immediately dropped 20% after purchase, and then the price continued to decrease. The logic of this: we bought the tractor for 100,000, but if you want to sell it, the dealer says too many operating hours, there is damage, paint is worn, so the tractor is worth at most 48,000. So it turns out that when buying used equipment, selling it for a reasonable price is no longer possible. But I want to show you something. I'm saving the game right now, and in the save file I copy the state of the used tractor and paste it into the state of the new tractor. When I load the game, it shows that the new tractor price became 106,000, exactly matching the price we paid for the used tractor. In other words, the price for used equipment is completely fair. Now look. We take the tractor that we bought as new to the workshop, check the repair cost, $57.39. Now we bring the tractor that we bought used, check the repair cost, $2,600. The tractors are identical, the condition is exactly the same, but the repair cost for the one tractor is twice as high as for the other. Why? I already mentioned that the repair cost depends on the purchase price, and since we paid half as much for the used tractor, the repair will also be half the cost. I think it's funny, and it gives some unexpected advantages. Let's assume we have a new and used tractor, and both will work for the same amount of time. The new tractor will get 4.6 damage after 1 hour of work, and the repair cost will be $208. The used tractor, which has 24 operating hours, will get 12% damage after 1 hour of operation, and the repair cost is $402. So far, the repair cost for the used tractor is twice as high as for the new one, after 10 hours of operation. The first tractor will get 7.6% damage per hour, the second will get 15% damage per hour, but the difference in repair cost is no longer that significant. After 20 hours of operation, the first tractor will get 10.5% damage per hour, and the second 18% per hour, but the difference in the repair cost is almost gone by then. Starting from 50 operating hours, the damage per hour becomes the same, and the repair cost for the new tractor will be twice as high as for the used tractor. Of course, this applies not only to tractors, but to all equipment. Is it worth buying used equipment? My opinion is definitely worth it. especially in the early stage of the game, and don't forget that there are several categories of equipment that don't necessarily need repair. This could have been the end of the video, but back in Farming Simulator 19, I was curious. Is it more profitable to buy new equipment or just keep repairing the old one? I decided to run another experiment. On one side of the field I started a new combine, and on the other a combine with 50 operating hours. I lowered the soybean yields in the files, so the combines could work longer without unloading for 40 minutes. In my experience, this is the average time it takes to harvest a field on a small map. After every 40 minutes I repaired the combines and the headers and recorded the data in Excel. But once again I realized that even with a speed hack, this will take a very long time. So I decided to theorize. Let's assume we want completely replace the combine and header. The new combine and header cost 580,000. Let's say we want to sell the old class with 50 operating hours and the header. We will get 150,000 for it. Yes, or 166,000 if we sell it through a workshop. So with the trade-in, the new combine will cost 412,000. After 50 operating hours, the new combine will again have maximum hourly damage, which means it will be time to replace it again, and that means spending another 412,000. If you don't buy a new combine, but just keep repairing the old one, every 40 minutes we'll spending 2700, so after 15 hours of work we'll spend around $195 on repairs. That is twice as cost effective as buying a new combine. Yes, maybe it's not so comfortable and you need to watch the damage, but economically it's more profitable. Just in case, I decided to check the repair cost for each hour of operation, still 50 operation hours, and the age of the combines are 10 and 1000 years. I mean 10 years and 1000. Repairing a 10 years old combine every hour cost 4600. Over 50 hours that will be $234,000. Repairing a Millennium combine every hour cost 5300, that's $265,000, still more cost effective than buying a new one. Note that I did not account for the cost of repairing a new combine. If anyone has a lot of free time, feel free to double check this. But for now, it seems that it's better to repair the old one than to buy a new one. And if you're lucky enough to buy a used combine, that's even better. If we think about it, 5300 per hours of work is a terrifying amount, but after the harvest you are not going into the red, right? Let's look at the example again. We run the combine on field 37 on the Elm Creek map. It will be harvesting soybeans. The field is fully tended except for rolling and mulching. The combine has 50 operating hours, so it gets damage at maximum. In about half an hour of work, the combine harvested 42,000 liters of soybean. On hard economic difficulty, we will get $52,000. On medium, $95,000. On easy, $158,000. The repair cost for the combine was $2,400, so you are not going into the red in any case. I didn't conduct experiments on whether it's profitable to repair sprayers, fertilizers, spreaders, seeders or planters. I think repair are necessary anyway, because there are material consumption and significant yield increase. But what about mulchers? They give the smallest yield increase. Let's do the math. On the same field I used a tractor and a mulcher with 50 operating hours, 300 horsepower. We harvested 42,000 liters of soybean from the field, that is 195% yield, I mean the base volume, plus 95% from field work. The mulcher gives 2.5% more, 2.5% of the base volume will give around 700 on the hard difficulty, 1200 on the medium, and 2000 on easy. The repair cost of the mulcher is $243, which isn't much, but for the tractor is $2,200, so if you constantly repair the tractor, even on easy economic difficulty, there could be a situation where mulching doesn't pay for itself. I checked how much it would cost to repair a roller. I took the biggest one and also a large tractor. I worked it for about 20 minutes, the tractor repair cost almost $500, and the roller repair also a couple of hundred. So on medium and easy difficulty you won't go into the red from repairs. But don't forget that you can simply buy a more powerful tractor and not repair at all. The choice is yours. Well, that's it. The lecture has come to an end, and I personally learned a lot of new things. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Maybe see you later. Goodbye everyone.